So welcome, everyone. And thank you for joining us as we celebrate the life of our dear friend, Karla Janet Chopyak. Thank you for being a friend of Karla and Steve's, and thank you for joining in the celebration. My name's Candace Semigran.
And I'm Stu Semigran.
And Steve asked if we would co-host today's celebration with him. Helen has muted everyone except us for now, and the chat room is open. So if you would like to use it, we just ask that you please do so judiciously, not to chit chat with each other, but perhaps to share something about Karla, maybe a keepsake for Steve. And there'll be a few people who will be sharing during our time together. And when it's their turn, they can just unmute themselves and then mute themselves back when they're finished. So Karla passed into spirit the day after Christmas, early morning, in what Steve told me was an amazingly graceful and gentle way. And Steve's hope today is to bring each of you some insight into her life, into her dedication to helping others. And we expect that each of us are going to learn a little bit more about Karla today than we knew before as we celebrate her life.
And throughout the celebration today, we'll see some photos and some video of Karla. We'll hear some music that she enjoyed, like Alberto's music with us, and also some music that she assisted Steve in composing throughout the years. And those of us knowing Karla, we know that she was dedicated to holding to a higher consciousness and serving others, even serving each of us. As we know, she carried such a joyful spirit, a peaceful way about her. And just by simply being who she was, she seemed to uplift people. And a lot of people commented that after being around her and talking to her, somehow they felt much better. And it was just Karla, her essence, just being Karla who she was. And this is a wonderful day to honor and celebrate and love her.
So we're going to start with a prayer, an invocation, calling in the light, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to say it the way it comes to me to say it. But if you use different words when you do a prayer, just do that silently inside your heart. I'm not tied to the words I use. But if you'd like to join in, just close your eyes. Maybe take a deep breath and let it out. And beloved Father, Mother, God, we're here together today to celebrate our dear friend, family member, Karla Janet Chopyak. And we ask just now that the light of the Christ, the light of God, be present with us, fill, surround, protect each of us, and be with Karla's soul as she takes her next steps. And with Steve as he navigates a new phase of his life. And as Karla was such a blessing in so many people's lives, bringing love and laughter and peace and joy, friendship, each one of us is also a blessing. And as I know Karla loved to serve and loved to share her loving and the light of God and share that with her friends, her family, the whole world. thought we could take just a moment now for each of us as we are blessings to just envision our prayers, our blessings, our loving extending to Karla, her soul, extending to Steve, to everyone participating today in this celebration. And we can even, and I know Karla would love this, imagine that we're sending all of these blessings around the world. To the Ukraine, to Russia, to the people there, to everyone around the world, anyone in need, that they may receive of this loving. And then just take all of those blessings back into yourself, into your own heart. And as you loved Karla, know that her love is with us all. God's love is with us all. God's light is with us all. And may those blessings continue always. Amen. Steve invited two dear friends of he and Karla's to be with us and share this morning or this afternoon or evening, wherever you are. John Morton and Lee Taylor Young Morton. They're both friends, dear friends of Steve and Karla's. They're ministers in MSIA, which is the Movement of Spiritual Inner Awareness, and that's the church that Steve and Karla have participated in for years. John's the spiritual director of MSIA, and Lee's the ambassador. So I just want to invite them to share whatever they would like. John can go first and then turn it over to Lee when he's finished. And we're just grateful that you're with us today, John and Lee. Thank you.
Thank you, Candace and Stu, and everybody, especially those in the family with Karla, maybe those of us involved in Karla's church. We didn't get a chance necessarily to meet you. And now with a circumstance like this, we have that opportunity to come together. We look upon it as a blessing of her life continuing, so that we could consider she's still with us in spirit, even if we're not so aware of what that is, and we miss her, and that can be very deep and precious, and all of that. We look forward that there's a sharing opportunity here, including myself, with knowing Karla and Steve, of course, both with many, actually several decades of sharing experiences with them through various ways that we get together as a church and in the work that we do to uplift and become better people. So I want to also just talk about that as an opportunity that we have in this way, that I'm sure in Karla's intentions for her life, that it would continue, that it's a positive, it's something regardless of whatever there might be in a disturbance, the missing, the sorrow that can come when someone leaves us, in this way. So I encourage you to be open to a healing, to be open to her touching you even now, and to consider that if we're missing her, it's because she's present with us right now, and to be in touch with that, however that works for you. And I just know her in the sweetness. She was often, to me, someone who was like myself, preferred to be quiet, maybe let others take the highlight or the spot, but didn't quite work out that way for myself in the work that I do that includes things all over the world and what we do. So we consider this church a worldwide church. And so there are, I'm sure, many people online from various locations who met Karla and when we would travel and things like that. I knew both Karla and Steve before they got together. So I have that background as well. And I want to give way to that because I'm sure there's many of you who would like to share and have that special presence that can come in with God's blessing in knowing the gift of a life and to bid her well. We consider that we can send her the light, we can send her love now and touch her in that way, and that in her presence you can touch us with her light and her love. And here we go. I'm going to do what I consider is the blessing. Dear Lord, we ask for your attunement, that you come to us into our heart, into our soul, in whatever way we are touched by Karla, knowing her in the way we each have known her, and knowing the closeness, the personal level of what that is. And that we just ask that whatever good can come from her passing, that it be amplified and be increased. And whatever's here in any way that is a sorrow and anything that might hurt in our heart, that is healed, it's cleared, and that we rejoice, that we see the majesty of her life and the gift that we've all been given. And we give thanks for this blessing. Beirish Beshan. And that's a way of saying the blessings already are. My wife is also someone who's but close with both Karla and Steve, and known them through the years, and I'm enjoying what Lee's going to have to share with us. So here comes Lee.
Oh my. Hello. And my hello also goes to people that I may not know that love Karla, that are present. And I'm grateful to have a moment to share about how much I love her. And I was sitting listening to John, and what was coming to me is, if we're blessed to know a great soul, a great being, no matter how quiet they are or how much they seem to step in the background, you're lucky if you see that there's something to really learn from them. And I was thinking about what I learned from Karla had to do with deep caring. At the end of every session with Steve, I was always excited to go out and stand at Karla's desk, look into those eyes that just beamed, and just, it didn't matter what we said, because I felt receiving, caring, nothing just superficial, just really looking at me and saying, how are you? And meaning it. And I could feel it, and my heart could feel it. I left every session sitting in my car. I find myself smiling and touching my heart and going, gosh, I love them both so much. I'm not very full of many, many words. I would like to just close my eyes and speak to what John said that I'm in complete experiencing of, which is that Karla is here, present in the spirit. And I just want to say, Karla, I love you. You know, I always have loved you. We've loved each other. And we always took such joy in seeing each other's face because we both have a lot of joy and we recognized it and we both light up with each other. And you are igniter of joy. And I just know that you're blessing us. You bless Steve so much as he blessed you. And just all there is here is the loving. And I want to send my loving and blessings to Steve. There's some part of my heart knowing how much I love my husband. What a navigation that is. And we're all here for you. We're all here to love you and step in ways we can as your friend. Karla's free. And I'm just grateful to receive her blessing. Thank you. Thank you for including me. God bless you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Lee. You help remind us of her presence and her gifts that she has given, that she gives to us, her beingness that just touched so many of us. A lot of you wrote to Steve in the weeks after and shared your comments with him and of your love for him, your love for Karla. And Steve selected a few that I want to share with you of the many that came through. Steve and Karla touched me deeply when I was diagnosed with a severe illness. They're two of the most kind, authentic, and sensitive people I've ever come across. I always feel blessed to have crossed paths with them. You are two of the most kind and loving people I've ever known. Thank you for your years of service. Keep going, Steve, and sending you love. Karla was a special woman, and I'm grateful to have experienced her loving service for myself and my family. She always had a smile, and she seemed to delight in hearing about all the happenings with my family. Another one writes, the photo you shared in your message, Steve, is exactly how I remember Karla, always smiling. She was so full of joy and happiness, and that's shown in her smile. We know God returns your loving, your service, and giving and compassion, and we love you for who you are. Wishing you the highest and deepest blessings flowing to you. And lastly, Karla always was a ray of sunshine. What a bright light, what a gentle soul. Her kindness to my family and to me will always be remembered. Now, there were many others who sent their thoughts and comments and best wishes to Steve, and we've only shared a few right now, but I want to thank each of you, not only for what you wrote, but for how you've carried Karla in your hearts, how you've expressed your love for Steve in so many ways, and I know how much that's meant to him. And if you have to add, if you care to add any more comments today during the celebration, there's a reminder that you can just share that and just type them into the chat as a keepsake for Steve. And I want to, at this point, welcome back in, for those of you who joined us at the early stages before we started this celebration, Alberto, Depino, and Candy, if you'd like to introduce Alberto.
Oh, sure. Well, Alberto is a professional guitarist. Karla and Steve met him at a local Italian restaurant. They loved his music and became friends. And Steve and Karla shared about him with their friends, and many of us would determine where we were going to dine out one night based on where Alberto was playing. And he's going to be sharing with us 3 pieces today. And I'm going to let him introduce his first one now. Alberto, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And together with Steve, we talked about what pieces Karla would have loved to hear for her life's celebration. Because remember, this is what we're here for the celebration of her life. And I do remember that 2 songs in particular that are in my repertoire were Karla's favorite. And the first one, which is the one that I'm going to play right now, is the Ave Maria by Franz Schubert. And I remember Karla loved that song. And the last one that I'm gonna play, which is Danny Boy. I know Karla loved that song every time she asked me to play that. And in the middle, I decided to play a very somber 17th century Irish song that is called Planxty Irwin. And it's a song that was composed by a man called Turlough O'Carolan, probably the most famous Irish composer of all times. And he used to write songs for their patron. He was a blind harpist and one of the last bards that were in, roaming around Ireland in the 17th century. And he used to compose music dedicating it to their patrons. And it was either when he left their court or their houses that he would bless them with one of his compositions, or when something happened in the family and he was still alive there. And in this case, it happened to be that the wife of the man that was giving him hospitality passed away while he was there. And he decided to compose this song that to me, it's the most beautiful song that he has ever composed. But that will be the second one. The first song that I'm going to play, as I said to you before, is the Ave Maria by Franz Schubert. So here we go.
Thank you, Alberto. You're just so beautiful. Steve asked if we would share a little bit of Karla's early years that maybe many of us were not aware of. I know I wasn't. So a little bit of a history I want to share with you. Born Karla Janet Morden on December 29th, 1949 in Danville, Pennsylvania, Karla spent her early years with her family shuttling back and forth between grandparents in Pennsylvania and in Texas, as her father was on active military duty. Later, the family frequently continued to move, and before high school, she had already lived in Alabama, Kansas, Oklahoma, and spent 2.5 years in Germany. Eventually, the family settled in Hershey, Pennsylvania, where she graduated high school. Her college years started in Pennsylvania at Millersville University. Then Karla went back to Germany, this time in Heidelberg. Her studies in Heidelberg were interrupted by her father's untimely passing, and she moved back to the US. And there was then a short-lived early marriage. Karla was able to complete her bachelor's degree at California State University, East Bay, and subsequently moved to Florida.
Surprisingly, and this definitely surprised me, might you, in the early 80s, Karla started a career in aviation with Eastern Airlines, later with FedEx in Memphis, and then with Douglas Aircraft in Long Beach, California. She studied for and obtained certification to be an aircraft dispatcher, but mostly worked to track down urgently needed aircraft parts to get a plane off the ground in some remote location. Many of us met Karla during this next period as she participated with Insight seminars, USM, the University of Santa Monica, and the Movement of Spiritual Inner Awareness. And she went traveling with a group of MSIers and became an ordained minister in 1984. And sometime around 1985, moved to Los Angeles. And that's where she obtained a master's degree from the University of Santa Monica and discovered her dedication to assisting and serving other people in their lives. In 1988 was when Steve and Karla met. So Steve, we're going to have you fill it in from here.
Okay. I think you can hear me now. What does that say? Unmute myself. Okay. Yeah, 1988. Well, 1990, we had our first date. We had met a couple times before, but we were not in a place for dating. I was married. She was busy. 1990, we had a date. It was supposed to be dinner and a movie. It ended up being a whole week, basically. We hit it off so well. Monday morning came from the weekend. We both called in sick to jobs we had. I got to work on Tuesday. I must have been looking pretty happy. My boss walked by my desk. He turned around and he said, "Oh, so do you have a new girlfriend?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "Well, you took yesterday off as a sick day and you don't look sick and you look awfully happy. I think you have a new girlfriend." And well, little did he know, but yes, I did. And that week lasted for 30 years. There's a lot of stories, but the one that people have asked me to tell, which I will tell, some of you have heard this story. I think it really speaks to who Karla was in terms of being herself, being the person that she could hold to her own integrity, not making decisions suddenly, and just being very careful about what she did next, as long as in alignment with her overall plan. And this is the story about how it is that I proposed and how it is we ended up getting married. We moved in together about a year after the first date. We started a business together in Santa Monica a year after that. And a couple of years later, I decided, well, it's time for us to get married. And so I wanted to propose, and as anybody who's ever proposed to anybody else has ever experienced, it's a very nerve-wracking kind of thing. You plan it, you're not sure what they're going to do. Maybe you think you're sure, but I was pretty sure, but I was nervous. So I planned a special weekend. We were always celebrating our first date. So this was 1995, anniversary of our first date. And I thought, well, I'll make a special weekend out of it. So I planned a big surprise at a very upscale resort in LA, the Bel Air Hotel. I didn't tell her where we were going. We just headed out. Actually, I tried to confuse her. I drove up the coast a while, and she's guessing all these places we might be going for the weekend. Finally, I turned down Sunset Boulevard, and she said, the Bel Air Hotel. I said, yeah, that's where we're going. So we went, a beautiful room, beautiful dinner out on the patio. I planned after dinner. I knew there would be no ring because Karla really didn't like diamonds, and I could never second guess her jewelry taste. So I decided we'd do this without a ring. But boy, I was so nervous during dinner. And finally we get to the dessert, and I thought, "His time's running out, Steve. You gotta do this." And so finally I got to it, and I popped a question. I think, I'd like to marry you. Would you marry me? And she looked at me and smiled, and then said something I did not expect. She said, "Oh, okay, well, I gotta think about it." Now, we've been living together 5 years already, and I'm thinking, what do you mean? I didn't say that. I thought, okay, I know how deliberate she is. Probably later tonight or tomorrow, she'll come up with the answer. So actually, she didn't. And we had a wonderful weekend, but time went by. And I don't mean just days, I mean weeks and even months. And one day, sometime in the summer, we were watching TV, sitting next to each other. Everything was going fine. And she leaned over to me during a commercial, and she said, "I'm still thinking about it." And I said, "Thinking about what?" She said, about it. And I thought, oh, yeah, it. She said, "I'm still thinking about it." I said, "Okay." Yeah, I said, "You mean getting married?" She said, "Yes." Okay. So time goes by, but not till September. Now, the first proposal was in May. Sorry, I keep disappearing. I'm trying to not disappear. September came, another TV commercial. She turned to me out of the blue and said, "Yes." And of course I said, "Yes, what?" She said, yes, the big yes. I said, "You mean getting married?" She said, "Yes." So that was very typical of her, very deliberate, very purposeful, very much the way she did it. And of course, I knew she meant it by that time. So it was another year before we got married. And that was just a very typical way. She was very deliberate. Over the years, I found out she was a very good help to me with music. A lot of you know I write music. I wrote a lot for the church and others. And she really became my final edit. I wouldn't let any music out unless she approved of it, because she had an ear for it in a way, and a very neutral way of explaining to me what she thought it needed. And it really helped every single piece. And some of the music you'll hear, all of the music really that I wrote for the video, is music that she helped me with over the years. And you'll see that in a few minutes. She was also, of course, a big part of the chiropractic business. It started out being just about our working with patients, and me working with the patients and her working with the finances and the business end. But as Lee mentioned earlier, she became a big part of the experience of the patients. And that was a major thing for everybody, including me. She was a healing force there, a natural counselor, an incredible listener. And those of you who knew her well from the office know that she was a part of it. She was a part of it with everyone. I've gotten a number of comments of people talking about how much they remember her working with their children when they were there in the office. And we've had teenagers going to college and a bit confused, and they purposely came in early to talk to her. There was just a common thread of her helping people, and it made a wonderful teamwork for me. The other thing, so I'm going to introduce that. I put together a video of pictures and some actual video. And Karla hated having her picture taken. She only liked it being taken if there was somebody to hug. And so there's lots and lots of pictures of her hugging people. And of course, I get hugged a lot because I was there a lot, and I didn't cut myself out of the pictures. The first part of the presentation is mostly without me. It's without a lot of you. A lot of you will see yourselves in the pictures. A little bit of baby pictures. There's a picture of the car she bought on one of our first dates. She was very proud of buying this Lexus, and that's fun to see her in it. There's pictures of her very young as a runner, and most of you don't know that she did quite a bit of running, and she well, I disappeared again, and well, virtual backgrounds aren't what they should be. So there they are, and I think you'll enjoy seeing those pictures of her young, and then I came on the scene in 1990, and then I kind of mixed up the chronology because that's kind of the way my mind works. I saw us young and old and back and forth, and there's a bit of video also from our wedding, and I think you'll enjoy that. All the music is music I wrote and recorded, except for a little bit of harp music during the wedding. But the rest is all mine, including the accordion playing. And I put that in there so you could see how much she supported me doing that. And I think you guys, I'm ready for you to roll the video.
forward the light of the Holy Spirit and the Christ, to stand in this marriage as a binding force. The binding force being, of course, loving in each moment, seeing the loving in all things that you do.
Well, we've been together for a long time, and it's all been very good. And the vision I have for us is to have lots of joy and laughter and ease, and it's my want, my desire to bring the very best level of loving that I can bring to you in the very best way that I can. And I'm so grateful that you're in my life.
1, 2, 3, 4.
believe you want me to play the second song at this point. And meanwhile, I just wanted to tell Steve that, as you can see, Jana just joined me. And do you want to say?
Sending all my love.
There you go. So the second song, as I told you before, it's gonna be a song from the 17th century, Ireland, and it's called Planxty Irwin. So here we go.
Thank you, Alberto. So sweet. And Steve, the video from all of us, what can we say? You brought us right into your lives and Karla's heart. And next to Steve, that's Bert. And some of you saw him in the video, Karla's brother. And thank you, Bert. You've been a rock for Steve. I know that. And I want to take a moment to continue the story of Karla that Steve gave me some history on, and then I'll ask you to share some more, Steve. And Steve wanted us to know that they both, Karla and Steve, did a lot of traveling around the US and some in Europe, and they visited Scotland and England and Germany and Greece and Turkey. And you might have seen some of these photos that then they became enthralled by Bozeman, Montana. And in 2006, they sold their chiropractic practice in Santa Monica, and they moved up to Montana. And only then to move back to California 2 years later on and started a new practice in Thousand Oaks and Westlake area. And Steve, I'm gonna pass it back over to you, where the story continues.
Okay, thanks, Helen. Yeah, we left Montana, came back to California in 2008. We decided we were going to create a life that was not as stressful as the life we'd had up to that point. And it was a time for exploring what we really, really wanted in both in the business and in our lives. And it was fun. Yeah, it went so fast, but it was great. And yeah, thank you. We got to do a lot, and it was a time of profound personal growth for both of us. We worked on the things about ourselves that were important together. I worked a lot on the patient care. Karla did too, and how we wanted it to be rather than how it needed to be to make money. And we did fine, and it was very rewarding. The music too has come a long way. Mostly everything you heard on the video was mine, as I said, except the harp. I also borrowed from Debussy for the last piece. Is my interpretation of Clair de Lune, but it was just the beginning, it seems to me, and I don't know where it's going even now, but it's still there. It's still happening. I just wanted to say that, and those pictures of like the bison, the buffalo, and the bear, those were so important. A chance to touch with nature. The picture of the bear is somebody we talked about a lot. It posed for us. Luckily, I was in the car, being that close to it. And I wasn't sure he was going to charge the car or not, but it didn't. And then the buffalo, I was quite close to that as well. And I don't know, maybe that wasn't very safe, but it was a great picture to take. And those pictures of Montana and then of Big Sur, all favorite places of hers and mine. So I think I just want to thank you all for being here today and appreciate it. So back to you guys.
We love you, Steve. Steve invited a few of you to share with us all this afternoon, and we're going to start with Miriam Goldstein. And Miriam, if you'll unmute yourself, we'd love to hear from you.
Not allowing.
Try it again, Miriam. There you are.
There it is. There it is. Oh, it's such an honor to be with you all today and to be able to share about the deep, deep friendship that I had with beautiful Karla Chopyak. I met Karla in the early 80s when she came to St. Louis to some workshops that were held in Marcy's and my husband Marcy's and my home. And she came and she was quiet. She was truly herself in a quiet way, but lo and behold, she was getting very serious about her path in the movement of spiritual inner awareness. And she was ordained in Marcy's and my bedroom. And I believe that that set the tone for our relationship as it went forward, because it certainly was a multidimensional relationship that at its best and most always was a spiritual relationship. And we really bonded when at an annual conference of MSIA, waiting on a line for a woman's bathroom, which was often a long line. Karla asked me if we'd be interested as we exited Los Angeles, Marcy and I moving to Jacksonville, if we wanted to live with them for a few months. And so that's where the great bonding took place. We lived in a 1,200 square foot apartment as harmoniously as 4 people could live together. It was just beautiful. And there was a relationship of the 4 of us, Steve, Karla, Marcy, and myself, that words just don't translate the loving and caring that we shared with each other. That carried on from then, and that was in the early 90s to this day and beyond. Karla, every word that has been said to describe Karla is so true for me inside the core of my being. And it was what I call a spiritual sisterhood that I had with her. It was a treasure beyond words. It was what Karla imparted with her loving, her gentle, sweet, validating way that she supported people. And the 2 of us had long, long conversations where we went through challenging times and were able to share the teachings and remind each other of how we could lift ourselves. And so that relationship is something that was a treasure beyond words. And we never ended our conversation without saying how truly we all loved each other. And Steve, you participated in those conversations with Marcy, and then after Marcy passed, incredible way of supporting each other. It's something that I have never experienced outside the movement, really, where we focus on the loving and the caring of each other in such a deep way. And Karla and I were able to reach that place with each other where we truly were soul sisters. I love you, Steve. I love you. And I treasure you. And I love the way we shared treatments with each other. I love the way we ate bread together and enjoyed hamburgers and such, and the fun that we had through the years. Just a very, very special treasure in my heart that's present always, always, in all ways. So thank you for who you are. And Bert, she loved you so much. She truly loved you, and you were her family. And I'm just going to end by saying that her devotion to Steve, Karla's devotion to Steve, was inspiring and beautiful. And as she reached close to the time that she was leaving this planet, her biggest concern was that she wanted to be here for Steve. So through all of that and through all of what she went through on her journey, that was always present. So I'm appreciating that Bert's there for you. I know that Karla wanted that. And to all of us, we learned so much about loving and caring through our relationship with Karla. I just told, it's a treasure. Beyond words. Bye and love to
Hi, I'm Helen. I had the fortune of living with Karla and with Bertie Klein and Nan Cara as we all did the second year of university together. I was so new in the movement and really brand new in Los Angeles, which was huge compared to El Paso, Texas. And you know, what I remember back then about Karla is, you know, just so steady and solid. We lived across the hall from each other. And it was just such a blessing to be in that environment and go to school with her and graduate with her. And, you know, but my fondest memories really are coming to the office with Steve and Karla. And, you know, it was like there was nobody else in the world to share with. She was just like, you know, you knew that you were like the most important person when you were next to her and she was sharing with you. Her twinkle in her eyes was just like, you know, it was just like love. And she loved JR so much, you know, as soon as she brought JR forward, there was always that twinkle in the eye and some tears. So the depth of that loving was so profound and so deep. And I appreciate the times that I had with her and sharing after a treatment or before when Alan was getting a treatment. It was just a precious time. We would talk about art. We would talk about what I was doing in my life. It was like I felt heard and I felt loved. And Steve, I love you very, very much. And you know that we're here for you. God bless. Thank you.
I'm Jean, and I first knew Karla from a distance when she was a volunteer for the church. And we got to know each other when I moved up to Camarillo and through the ministers' meeting and the warmth and welcome from both her and Steve. And there was a preciousness in the time I spent with her when I would take her to and from some appointments and stuff like that, and cover in the office when she would try and be healing. But for me, the preciousness of Karla was demonstrated in the last words I remember hearing her speak. So on Christmas Eve, I came to Karla's care room to set up Steve's laptop so she could watch John's seminar. She was adamant she wanted to watch that seminar. Steve was in the hospital, hadn't been discharged yet, and we didn't know what time he was going to arrive. And when I first entered her room, Karla appeared to be gone, far gone. I gently let her know I was in the room, and she moved slightly in what I took as an acknowledgement of my presence. And I went about setting up the laptop and getting directions from Steve on the phone. He also let me know that Jacqueline Morgan was on her way. So I turned to Karla and let her know that Jacqueline was coming. Karla rousted herself and attempted to lift and ring a small bell on a ribbon to get attention of her caregivers. And I asked her what she needed. And she said very clearly, "We need a chair. We need a chair for Cat Jacqueline." We got a chair for Jacqueline. And as been said, the gift of knowing Karla lay in seeing and sharing the twinkle in her eyes, receiving the blessing of her smiles, and experiencing her caring and her loving. Fly high, Karla, with bells on your toes. Love you, Steve, Bert, Phil Ann. Thank you.
Lynn, do you want to come over and join with me now?
Okay.
Okay. We're going to double team this one. Here we are. Can you hear me okay? I hope.
Yes.
Oh, good. This is my golden girl, and Karla was Steve's golden girl and still is. The moment I met Karla, I knew that I was in the presence of an angel, and I knew that something special would always be present when she was present, and she's still present, and it's still special. I can't tell you how grateful I am, Stephen, that you have brought us into your heart and shared your loving of Karla and your I would say good fortune, but somehow I think it was all worked out on some higher level. The ease and intimacy that you demonstrated is something that I found in my life, thank God, and I think we understand each other in that way, in a very special way, in a deep way. It's something that I don't really have words for, but I think what I'll do is ask my dear Lynn to say something also.
Well, there's so much. I've been so touched by Karla's presence and by the presentations and the things people are writing. And I just want to say that I am so grateful to have been Karla's friend. And she did have that wonderful gift, as Helen and others have touched on, of being absolutely present with you. And the focus of her attention, her listening, her sharing, her loving. What a gift. I know John and I and Steve and Karla often talked about traveling to Italy or traveling somewhere together. I'm so sorry we never got to do that, but just the blessing of being able to be with both of them and do things together was wonderful. Wow. And as Jane talked about, that day in the hospice with Karla was the last time I saw her, and she left me with a wonderful gift. Steve came into the room and she became totally present, just in her loving and her joy. And I was just my breath was just taken away. And in leaving the room to let them be together, we reached hands out and touched and said, I love you, and exchanged, I love you. And then she gave me one of those incredibly beautiful smiles of hers. And that smile is still in my heart. I love you, Steve. I love Karla.
It was a great privilege to be of service to Karla as she found her way out of her body, and just to hold for her and to continue at the same level of loving with her, no matter what. That's the way she loved. That's the way I found her and met her. And she continues to inspire me to keep doing that with everyone. There are an awful lot of people on the call that I know have loved for many years, and And that kind of loving is what I recognized in her also, that somehow that extraordinary, beautiful, deep and constant loving that we share with each other as a family in this church is something that was so easy with Karla, so easy with Steve, something we celebrate all the time and will continue to celebrate. I have a song to share, but I don't think I'll be able to get through it because my heart is so full, and I don't want to interrupt the song. But anyway, that song, the words of it are, the second verse is, "O angel, in the eyes of you, my loving friend, how can we be afraid of what will never end? The love that's all around you is for all to see. And in the name of life, come share this light with me." So I'll leave you with that.
That was beautiful. I'm not so sure how to tell you what my relationship was, but Karla and I were very good friends, and I only knew her for the last 15 or so years, but we shared an office. They let me rent a room for a while, and so I got to know her well, and I came to see Steve and she would come and see me, and through that relationship, we were able to really share and open up and be vulnerable with each other. And for a time, I lived very close by, and we used to walk together in the mornings for exercise. And in this particular morning, we were all bundled up because we were freezing, and we'd always share whatever was on our mind. It was a great way to start the day. And anyway, we were walking to this field, and Karla noticed there was something in the middle of the field, and it was like a dog off a leash. And then when I looked closer, it was definitely a coyote. And there was a woman who was on her way to walk where we were with her little poofy dog, and she was quite elderly. And so we decided that she would go and get the woman to pick up her dog and go home. And I ran as fast as I could after the coyote, throwing pine cones. And so this was sort of the funny things that have happened to us. And I just miss her very much. And the last time I saw her when she was in the hospice was she was trying to help me and with some issues I was having, and that's just who she was. She was just selfless and loving, and to see she just wanted you to be okay, because she knew she was going. And anyway, I feel so much love, and I know a lot of you because I've been at the office a lot recently. And I'm just so glad that you've all been there for Steve and Karla, because it means so much. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bertie, and I would say ditto to everything that has been shared so far. What a beautiful tribute to this amazing woman. And I'm so glad to be here to honor you as well, Steve, because she was partly her because of you. And I watched that transition happen. As Helen shared, Karla lived with us, Helen, Nan, and myself, as we were going through USM. And this was in the mid-'80s when we were all just starting to wake up and know who we are. And I dressed in all these colors and hearts because that's who I know Karla as. Very colorful, loaded with love and hearts, just sparkling out of her eyes as we could see in the beautiful pictures. And this was a time of all of us learning to work with our stuff when it would come up. Karla was so good at communication and allowing herself to share who she was, who she is. And we as a group really supported each other, which was really sweet. One of us would be in the stuff, and then the rest of the three would be there supporting. And I just have one quick story that I love, that after Karla moved out and worked with you, Steve, both in Santa Monica and up in Westlake, we would laugh all the time. She asked me when she was moving in if she could bring a chair, her SE, spiritual exercise meditation chair. And I said, but of course. And she said, well, it won't fit in my room. Can I leave it in the living room? And of course, it's like, well, I'm not going to deny anyone that. Well, she brings this big, huge, beautiful, luxurious lounge chair in. And I went to sit in it and she said, oh, no, don't do that. Nobody can sit in that except me. And it was like this huge revelation of, oh, I need to make things clear inside of me with other people. I mean, we learned communication skills so profoundly during that time. It was really amazing. And often when I would go to see you, Steve, we would laugh about that story and other things where I could see how far she had come, and we kind of mirrored each other. And I just watched her glow more and more and more as she connected deeper and deeper and deeper with you over the years. It was such an incredible gift. To me, and people have mentioned this, but to me, it was very direct. She was part of the deep healing that happened in your office, that happens in your office. She prepared, in a sense, bringing me into the calm, into the, oh, everything's going to be okay. And she listened, as several people have shared, so profoundly. So I'm really grateful to have been able to know her, to continue celebrating her. I know she's up there loving you, taking care of you, supporting you, and will always be there for you. And God bless all of us who love that amazing being, that amazing angel so much.
My name is Kay, and we often think of Steve Chopyak as the musician, but to me, Karla was the music. She is and was a sweet melody, and she was like an angel singing, and she is and was a celestial being. And this poem is called Celestial. It's for Karla. And just to let you know that the first line, when you love the world, you hear celestial music, is taken from a line by the beautiful poet Louise Glick. Celestial for Karla. When you love the world, you hear celestial music. In the joyous play of young children who dance and sing unabashedly to a splendid sun. When you love the world, you hear celestial music. In the joining of both new and old-time lovers who find nothing in holding back and everything in total sweet surrender. When you leave the world, you become celestial music, tuning purely and vibrating sweetly, riding on sound streams into heavenly spheres, traveling deep into the heart of God, residing there, fully awake, forever alive, celestial.
Thank you to everyone who shared. Oh my gosh. Karla is so present. She was an angel, is a blessing. And Alberto, would you play your third song for us?
Of course. Here we go. So, as I said before, the third song is Danny Boy, another Irish song that Karla used to love. And whenever she came to one of my concerts, she would just ask me to play that one in particular. And so it is, Danny Boy.
Thank you, Alberto. Oh, such beautiful music.
Thank you. Thank you.
We want to thank all of you for joining today and celebrating Karla and her beautiful life. We have a number of people we want to thank. Helen and Ellen Bradley for their handling of Zoom. David Rogers for his support of Steve in preparing and sending out invitations to today's celebration, and for his creation of the GoFundMe page that has brought financial support for when Karla was with us and continues to bring financial support for Steve as he's still in his healing process. We also want to thank Karla's brother, Bert, for being with us today and for his temporarily, which has become months now, moving from Georgia to Southern California to assist with Karla and Steve's care, and is now staying to continue supporting Steve as Steve prepares for what he hopes will be approved to take place very soon, kidney transplant surgery.
Yeah. And I think you can see from all the comments, Steve, so many people love and support you in your healing right now. And as you notice on the screen, we're just inviting people, if you're called to make a financial contribution to support Steve, you can access that GoFundMe page and you see the link right there. And also, if you have any more comments that some of you might not have made yet in the chat before we say goodbye today, feel free to place your comments in that chat as a keepsake for Steve, or you can email that to him at chopyak@aol.com. And the celebration has been recorded today. And if you're interested in receiving the link for today's celebration, please just email David Rogers, and that's David at Rogers.
T. Rogers.
Excuse me, David at trogers.net. And I think that may be in the chat as well. That's David at trogers, RODGERS.net. And we want to thank everyone for being part of this joyful celebration for Karla. And thank you, Steve, for all that you've done to bring us together in this honoring and loving of Karla.
Many blessings of love and light to all. And as we log off, we'll play a little more of Steve's music for a few minutes. And when the music ends, the celebration will end and the chat will remain open for the next few minutes in case you do want to make any more comments. So thanks again. God bless you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
We love you.